we are so excited to be here. We are talking about the many, many, many movies that we saw since May. So this is our summer movie wrap up. And I'm Rachel, and David is here.
Hi guys, I'm back again.
Yay! Yeah, so it's been pretty fun. And we are going to be covering a lot. Probably maybe the most we've ever covered.
Oh, probably. Yeah, it is a lot.
It's a long list. So let us know as you're listening, either in the comments or on Twitter, what you think about these different films. And maybe we'll encourage you to see something that you weren't aware of or that was off your radar. So it's pretty fun. I think between the two of us, we cover practically everything that you could see because I got the animation and the other stuff, the horror.
I got the horror, yeah.
Right. I did try to go out of my comfort zone a few times.
Yeah.
So, yes. So we'll talk about that. But
I think there might be like two big releases from the summer that neither of us saw, which are Sicario, the new Sicario, and you didn't see Show Dogs, did you?
No, I didn't. I just couldn't. I thought about it.
I couldn't either.
Especially when you added on the layer of like the offensive stuff, that
right.
I was just like, because then it's not even like 9 Lives kind of so bad. It's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of awkward, and I don't know. So I don't have time in my life for that kind of drama.
Right. But yeah, we should have pretty much every big release covered.
Yeah. So cool. All right. So we're going to start with a small film called The Rider. And this came out in April, but not in Salt Lake until May. So I didn't get to see it until May. Chloe Zhao is the director. And she used pretty raw talent in basically to tell the story of this bull rider who had gotten injured. And what did you think of The Rider?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was pretty interesting. Like, when I was watching it, I was like, none of these people seem like actors. Like, they seem very real. And sure enough, it turns out they're a real family. It's a real father and his 2 kids, and real best friend of this guy. But yeah, I was pretty blown away by it. I mean, there were some very personal scenes that, like, I don't know, it was incredible watching it. Yeah. I'm like, this is not what you get in your typical movie with acting.
Yeah. It was a good movie. For whatever reason, I wasn't as emotionally invested as I thought I would be. I mean, compared to like Lean on Pete, I was way more emotionally invested in that story than this story. And I don't really know why, because I there were some really good scenes and she did a good job. I don't know, maybe just the pacing, I don't know, but so it was good and I recommend it, but I was hoping that I would love it, and I didn't love it, but it was good.
Okay, see, I went in with low expectations and it far surpassed them.
Oh, okay.
I do like Lean on Pete better, but not by like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They're like pretty close in my rankings for the year.
Okay. Yeah. Where did you have this ranked?
I have this at 24 out of, I think, 93 movies that I've seen. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty high.
So I have it at 22. So pretty close, out of 80 releases from this year that I've seen. So you've got me beat.
Yeah, I actually think this has one of my favorite scenes from a movie this year. Mm. And it's a scene where you see the main character training a horse. It's kind of a wild horse. And it shows him like actually training. And he's really doing it. It's not acting.
Yeah.
He's training, and you just see his passion for it.
That is really good. And it's so sad because he might not even be able to do that. And he's so good at it, but I don't know. It was really good though. And the cinematography is probably one of the best of the year for sure. Exactly. So yeah, I have it as 22. So then we have a Bad Samaritan. So you saw this?
I did. Yeah. This movie, it's about these 2 guys that are car valets, and they figure out a way that they can rob people
Mm-hmm.
while they're taking their cars to park them. They just use their car alarms, find out where they live, and they can walk in and rob them. They try it one time, and the main character, he finds in the home more than he expected. There's a locked room, and he finds that there's a woman chained up. So
Ooh.
it's about him dealing with that. It didn't get a very wide release, but I actually really liked it, and so did my friend. It's pretty suspenseful.
Mm-hmm.
David Tennant's in it. He's very good in it.
Mm.
He's kind of the villain.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would highly recommend it to
Interesting.
people if you like this kind of thriller type movie. Yeah, it's very solid. It's ranked 42 for the year for me, but that's
Was-
still like a B minus for me.
Okay. Was that like similar to like Don't Breathe or something like that?
Yeah, it is. It's not as horror as Don't Breathe,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of similar in concept.
Interesting. Okay, then we had Overboard, the remake of Overboard. So this it wasn't the total train wreck that I thought it was going to be for sure. I do think that Eugenio Debes, I think his name is, I think he was pretty charismatic, and they gender swap the roles from the original film. My problem as a fan of the original film is I thought that they took out all of the physical comedy for the most part and made it really like sincere and sentimental, about the single mom trying to scrape by and pass this test and all this stuff. And that, I don't know, I kind of like the comedy and laughing a little bit more than that. But I don't know, it was watchable. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. That's a good way of putting it. It feels like a movie that's very like, let's just get this out and make it decent.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel like they put a lot of effort in making it into a quality comedy, which
Yeah.
is disappointing because I feel like Anna Faris was a bit wasted. But yeah, it wasn't bad. Not high up on my recommendations for the year.
Yeah, I have it at number 60 in my
Okay, I have it at 70.
Okay. Yeah, so then we have RBG. This is a documentary about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And it's actually, I mean, I am not a fan of a lot of her policies. I'll just say she's on the other side of the spectrum, but it didn't really matter for this. Like, you can still admire somebody who, holds different positions than you. And she certainly has done many great things to admire. And I thought it was a really actually sweet love story, which I'm a big fan of love stories. So that was really fun. And so I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, this has been a summer of documentaries.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of them. And I think this was a good way to kind of start off the summer with this one. I think that regardless of your political affiliation, you can't help but respect what this woman has done for women's rights. I think she's a super admirable person. And I didn't know a lot about her, to be honest. I mean, I knew that she was somebody that Bill Clinton had appointed
Mm-hmm.
onto the Supreme Court, but I didn't know much beyond that. So it was really great getting to see more about her. It was touching. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, it was really good. So I have it at 17.
Okay, I have it at 36.
Okay. Then we have Tully, and Tully's an interesting experience for me. I was really excited for it because I love Jason Reitman, and this is their second and job with Cody as the writer. This is their third collaboration, I believe, and then with second time working with Charlize Theron, and so I was pretty excited. Of course, I love Juno, and I wasn't as big a fan of young adult. I appreciated it, but I didn't love it. But I also really loved Up in the Air. But anyway, and this movie is interesting because in the about an hour into the movie, we had a fire alarm or whatever go off, and so we had to go outside. Whatever, they gave us a free coupon or whatever. So we're waiting, and I'm putting on my Twitter or whatever. I'm like, this movie is so great. I love it. This is so true and raw and real, and it's one of the best depictions of motherhood I think I've ever seen. I was so high on it, and Charlize Theron was amazing in it. And then I went back in and we finished it off. And I was like, oh no. Because I hated the ending. I thought it was so lame that they had to I don't know. Like it was just so raw and so true, and they throw in this kind of twist, and I just was not into the ending, and it really hurt my overall feeling for the movie. I was pretty, in the end, kind of disappointed about it, even though there was all that other stuff that I was so high on for a lot of it.
Hmm. Yeah, and I remember we had talked about this movie before I saw it, so I knew that you were disappointed with the ending.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of went into the movie like, I don't know how it's going to end, but I actually liked it. I thought that it was creative. Like, it's something I was not expecting at all. I mean, I started to put some pieces together, but still, when the twist came, I was pretty caught off guard. Um, I
I was
thought,
caught off guard, but not in a pleasant way.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, I can see that, but
yeah.
I don't know. I appreciated it a lot. And I felt better about the movie when I first saw it. It's been 3 months now. So as time has gone by, I've dropped it in my rankings a little bit, but I still think it's one of the best movies of the year personally.
Interesting. Cool.
Yep. I
I
have
can
it
see
ranked.
why. I can see why. It's just, I was just so, yeah, I can see why. If you can get over that
Yeah.
ending, then I can totally see why, because it has so many
Hmm.
good things about it.
Yeah, and I really like I can't remember her name, Mackenzie something.
Davis, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
really liked her.
cool. So
Yeah.
where do you have this ranked?
I have this ranked at 17 for the year.
Yeah, this was a very difficult movie for me to rank because I felt so schizophrenic about it. I had such, I don't know, it was really difficult, but I have it at 41. So I have it right in the
Okay.
middle, which
Hmm.
is kind of, I ended up, I would probably give it like 2.5 stars because that was very disappointing to me, that ending. So anyway, yeah, so I have it at 41
Okay.
on the ranking. So then we have Beast. You saw this?
Yes, this was a movie I saw while I was visiting my family in Kentucky. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't playing here in Missouri. So yeah, this was an interesting film. It's about this girl who meets a guy, um, and he's kind of mysterious, and there's something going on. They live on an island. There have been some girls that have been um, murdered, and some people seem to think this guy is behind it. So it's kind of about her starting a relationship with this guy, and it's a very slow movie. It's um, visually it looks really good. The characters are well developed, but it was hard for me to get into because I felt like it really wasn't going anywhere most of the film.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those movies that was kind of hard to stay awake for, and I was just
Okay.
hoping the payoff at the end would be worth something.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it wasn't really worth it.
Okay.
Um, it was okay. I ranked it 65 for the year, so I was disappointed. I wanted more, but
Okay.
it's not awful.
Okay. Next, we have Breaking In. This was our thriller with Gabrielle Union and her getting into the house where her kids are being held. And I thought this was fine. I mean, it's not great, but
Hmm.
I don't know, it's serviceable for what it's trying to do, I think. It I thought the kids were pretty good.
Yeah,
And I thought that she was, I mean, it's probably more of like a made for TV kind of level, but I was entertained enough. I don't know. It was fine.
yeah, it was fine. It's pretty much what you would expect it to be just from watching the trailer.
Yeah.
Like you can tell who's expendable and who's not. Um,
Yeah.
so I just wanted more. I wanted some of the characters to not be so cartoonish, especially one of the bad guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about.
I
Um,
think so.
yeah, the one that was he really
The
had like a
Latin guy.
bloodlust. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, he was just too much. I would be offended if I was Latin
Yeah, I get
and
it.
this guy was like some sort of crazy stereotype, but I don't know. It wasn't great.
Yeah, I agree with you about that part. That's true.
Mhm.
I can agree with you there. So where do you have it ranked?
I have this at 72.
Okay. I have
Yeah.
it at 48. It's just right in the
Okay.
middle for me. It was fine. Okay. So then we have Life of the Party. And this is our Melissa McCarthy vehicle. And this was better than I expected it to be. It was funny enough, and I thought there was a nice chemistry between Melissa McCarthy and the girl who played her daughter. I thought some of the side characters were entertaining enough and fun enough. I didn't like the relationship that she supposedly has with this like super hot guy in college. I'm like, come on, give me a break. Yeah, right. But it was okay. I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, I think for me, I actually mostly preferred the side characters in this
Yeah.
movie. I can't remember her name, the girl from Community. I really liked her
Yeah,
character.
she was fun.
I liked the roommate.
Hmm.
Um, and while I agree that the hot guy, like that was so unbelievable, unrealistic, their relationship, I still kind of rooted for it. I don't know if you did, but I
Hmm.
was like, oh, I hope they can work this out. But yeah, it had some laughs, but they weren't super frequent for me. So it was decent, but certainly not one of her best films for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not as bad as like Tammy or something like that, though.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. So, where do you have it ranked?
I have this ranked at 60.
I have it at 56. So we're pretty close
Okay. Yep.
on there. So, all right. So, Revenge, this one you saw.
Yeah, Revenge is a movie that's been getting really good reviews. So I was interested in this. Um, but watching it, I'm kind of surprised that the reviews are so good. Basically, it's about this girl who is dating a guy, and she's at his place in, I don't know, Mexico,
Uh
I
huh.
think. And he has a couple of guys over. Things go awry. Things get pretty graphic. And so she's running away from this horrible incident. Uh, Basically, there's some sexual stuff going on that
Uh huh.
she's not a
Right.
willing participant in. So she runs off, and I mean, I'm going to spoil this much, but it happens very early in the film. They end up like knocking her off this huge cliff, and she lands on a tree, and it like stabs her through her stomach. So clearly she's dead. But no, she's not dead. She is alive but wounded, and so basically she's trying to get revenge on these three guys. So it's kind of like torture porn, kind of,
Mm.
which that type of movie doesn't usually get such good reviews, and I don't think this earned the good reviews at all. um, it's honestly one of my least favorite movies I've seen this year. um, i don't I don't think that it was well developed. The nudity in this movie is so gratuitous and not necessary. I mean, the
Mm.
whole ending has a male walking around fully naked for
Mm.
like the last 15 minutes as there's kind of this
I'm surprised
conflict.
that could even get an R rating.
I mean, it wasn't sexual, so I guess that's why.
Huh. Yeah. Interesting.
But yeah,
Ooh.
it wasn't good. I ranked this at 81 for the year.
Okay. And you have 90 total?
93, I think.
93. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Next, we have Book Club. And this is our group of senior ladies that have romance and get into 50 Shades of Grey. And I actually thought this was fun. I laughed quite a bit. I thought that Andy Garcia was super hunky, and I really enjoyed. I think if his goal for this year was to make me fall in love with him, he is succeeding with this and with Mamma Mia. I don't know. He's just very handsome, swoon worthy. I thought in all of his scenes in this, and it it's definitely sitcom-y, uh, and it's not like super original or whatever, but I thought the four ladies had chemistry, and I liked all of their various romantic leads, that pairings I thought were fun, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun time.
Yeah, I can see that. I think this definitely has its market, and it's not me.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I can appreciate what they tried to do with it. I just didn't. I didn't think they did anything unexpected. It's kind of straightforward, so it's not something I would ever want to rewatch. So that
Mhm.
affects its ranking for me for the year.
Mhm.
Um, I wouldn't necessarily say it's bad, but for me, it's just not my cup of tea.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's not original, but I don't know. I just
Right.
really had fun with it. So for me, I have it at 24.
Oh wow, I have it at 76.
Okay, there you go. All right. So then Deadpool 2, you saw.
Yep. So Deadpool 2, I love the first Deadpool. I think it's definitely one of the most creative superhero films I've seen ever. Um, so the bar was set very high, and I don't think Deadpool 2 matched that bar, which I figured it couldn't. A lot of the humor in the film was rehashing things that worked in the first film,
Uh-huh.
um, which for me, that mostly did work. I
Mm-hmm.
would have liked to see more new things with it, but I did appreciate what they did with it. I laughed a lot. I liked the story. I didn't expect some of the changes with the characters, the development with them. So I think it worked. It it worked about as good as I could have expected, but not as much as I would have wanted, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So I actually ranked this at number 11 for the year for me. So this is my highest movie so far.
Okay, good, great. My
Mhm.
brother was very disappointed with it. He was
Okay.
not high on it.
Yeah,
um,
I can understand why.
yeah. So, First Reformed, you saw it. I haven't gotten to
Yeah.
see this yet.
Okay. First Reformed is one that I've been hearing a lot about. Um, it it has Ethan Hawke in it, and he is a priest who he is called upon by this woman in his church. She's concerned about her husband, so he talks to the husband. The husband has a lot of theories about climate change, and he thinks the world is basically like coming to an end. His wife's pregnant, and he doesn't want her to keep the baby because he doesn't think that the world will be a good place for their child to grow up in.
Ooh.
But he's so extreme with his opinions, and it kind of shakes this priest and how he sees the world, how he sees the church, and he's trying to figure out how to deal with his job as the leader of his flock and these theories that are really sticking with him. Um, it seems like it's kind of one of those message type movies, which to a degree it is, but the direction it goes was so shocking to me. Um, I think the last 10 minutes of this film are some of the best scenes I've seen in any movie this year. It's strongly delivered. Ethan Hawke did a great job. It's one that I would definitely recommend to most people. In fact, I talked to my roommate the other day. I'm like, you need to see this movie First Reformed. And he's like, I saw it. I hated it. So it's not for everybody, which surprises me. I thought pretty much anybody would like this, but I highly recommend it. And I rank this at 20 for the year for me.
Cool, great.
Mhm.
And then you had Pope Francis, A Man of His Word. I haven't seen this.
Okay. Yeah. Another documentary. I respect Pope Francis a lot, so I was interested in this. Um, and there are a lot of great things in this documentary. A lot of great messages that I think are important for people to hear.
Mm-hmm.
However, for me, it doesn't do the job of a documentary, which is to tell a story. It seemed more like a bunch of lessons that were unrelated. It didn't really tell you the story or the background of Pope Francis too much, which is what I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so while I appreciated it and I felt inspired by it, I was disappointed by the lack of narrative.
Hmm.
So I ranked this at 59 for the year.
Okay, sounds good. And then you had How to Talk to Girls at Parties. You saw.
Yep. So How to Talk to Girls at Parties um, is a very interesting movie. It's the same director who did shoot.
I didn't love the trailer. I have to say it.
Yeah,
They played it at the indie art house when I was there, and I was like, "Ooh, this looks like it has a lot of the tropes of indie films to me."
yeah. Yeah, and it I can see why you would say that, and I agree actually. John Cameron Michael, I think, is the director. He directed and starred in Hedwig and the Angry Inch,
Hmm.
which I like that film. Yeah, this just it felt like it was trying too hard to be weird and shock people with like how extreme some of the characters and situations were. It's not grounded in reality at all. It's about this alien cult, basically. There were a few good scenes in it, but as a whole, I thought it was pretty disjointed, um,
Hmm.
even though it did entertain me for the most part. So I ranked this at 58 for the year.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Then we have Solo, Star Wars story. The Star Wars movie that everyone's already forgotten about. Like, I feel like nobody's talking about it. And it just came out in May, which is kind of crazy. And so this movie, I was not I was mixed to negative on Last Jedi, and I didn't like Rogue One, so we're kind of a bad streak here. And so I went into this, and of course, had all the production problems and everything like that. And I thought it was fun, engaging, enjoyed it. I felt like it should have ended 20 minutes sooner than it did. Like when they finished the Kessel run, I think that would have been the perfect place to end. And I absolutely hated L3. I thought she was an absolutely terrible character. I thought she was just so like I cannot in a million years buy that Lando Calrissian, one of the coolest guys in the world, is in love with this robot. I mean, ridiculous. And her shrieking all around the place, very irritating. And I hated her. But Donald Glover was good. I thought Alden was fine. I never thought for a second of him that he was really Han Solo, but as just like a cowboy, space cowboy, he was fun. Um, and then I saw it a second time, and I was like a little bit more bored. It wasn't as fun for me the second time I saw it as the first time I saw it. But it was fine. It was entertaining enough, I think. What do you think?
I'm a bit more positive on this. I I liked Alden Ehrenreich a lot in this. I know a lot of people expected him to be like Harrison Ford, and he really wasn't doing an imitation of it, which I appreciated. He brought his own spin to the character,
Uh huh.
um, while keeping the basics. So I really appreciate what he did with it. I like the action scenes a lot. I thought the characters were well developed. I didn't mind the robot as much as you. I mean, she was the social justice warrior of robots, which I could see how that could be annoying to people. Um, but I just laughed at it a lot because, I mean, I thought they were just making fun of it. She wanted to liberate the robots, but or the droids, I guess I should say. Um, but yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I would really like to see it a second time because I don't remember everything super well. I've seen so many movies this summer, so
Yeah.
it's hard for me to remember everything. But yeah, I rank this pretty high for the year.
Where'd you have it?
I have it at 15.
Wow. So I have it at 28. And
Okay.
if they had just have her be a social justice warrior, that might have been fine. But to have Lando be in love with her was just like, oh, made me I was mad. I did not like that at all. Ridiculous. We have Action Point. You saw this.
Yeah, I wish I didn't. Um, yeah, so this is a movie that's all about um, those painful moments, and really the plot is so peripheral.
Yeah.
Um, it tries to get you involved in the story about them trying to save this park, but you don't care at all. Like That's such a background element. And so basically, I'm just watching people hurt themselves for an hour and a half. And that's not my kind of movie. Like,
No.
I don't if I see on Facebook compilations of people getting hurt, I scroll on past it because I don't get enjoyment out of that. So I was basically forced to watch a Facebook video of people getting hurt for an hour and a half, and I didn't enjoy it at all.
No. It was a
Um,
tremendous bomb. It was only in theaters for like 2 weeks,
yeah,
and
no,
they
I can
pulled
see
it.
why.
Yeah.
It wasn't good, and I knew it wouldn't be, but I still subjected myself to it for some reason. So I ranked this 90 out of 93.
Okay, for the good of the podcast. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
Did this for you.
yeah. So then we have Adrift, and this is your true story about, although in the real life it was just her on the boat, of this boat disaster where she has to keep herself alive. Shailene Woodley, and survival movie basically. And I thought this was serviceable. It was fine. It was exactly kind of what I expected it to be. I thought it was pretty well made. I thought it was pretty well acted. I thought they had pretty good chemistry. And I think that it was a mistake to do it in a nonlinear storytelling fashion. That was, I don't know, that just hurt momentum, I think, a little bit. And I think it would have been better to have just done a traditional narrative. But I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree with you pretty much. I did kind of get annoyed with the non-linear thing. It didn't seem necessary to me at all. I
Mm.
guess I kind of at the end you kind of realize why they did that. But I don't think it was worth it. It was just too annoying going back and forth. Um, but I will say the redeeming point for this movie for me was the chemistry between the characters.
Yeah.
I found it pretty believable. So it was slightly better than I expected. But I still probably wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah. I guess I don't know if I really watch it again either, but I don't know. I have it at, I probably have it too high to be honest, but anywhere it's where I have it. I have it at 27.
You have it above Solo, huh?
Yeah,
I
like I
have
said, high standard
that
with
makes sense. That makes sense.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
There was nothing
I
in this movie that actively irritated me like L3.
okay. Fair enough. I have this at 55.
That's fair. Uh, I always get the middle ones are always very hard in the ranking, like pretty much from like 30 to like 50. They're like about the same. So I'm like, I don't know,
Right.
because they're both kind of, they're all kind of like, they're fine, but I don't know. So it's tricky.
Right.
Okay, then American Animals you saw.
Yeah, American Animals. It's basically about these four guys that go to college in Kentucky, Lexington, and they decide they want to pull off a heist. Um, and it's a true story. So basically, they want to steal this book that's worth a whole lot of money from the library at their university that they attend. So they come up with an intricate plan. And what's really interesting about this film is it's almost presented like a documentary where you cut back and forth from the film to these interviews with the real life people that did this, the real characters, because it's based on a true story. So I thought that was pretty interesting how they presented it. Um, and it's really hard to describe because it wasn't as straightforward as you might think for them to cut over to these voiceovers. They were able to do it with a lot of personality and just a very unique thing that I've never seen in a movie. Like there were even points where the real life version of them might end up like sitting in a car next to them and kind of talking, breaking the third wall.
Hmm.
So I would highly recommend it. I mean, I think it's clever. Um, there's a lot of suspense on whether they're going to pull this off or not. You think, oh, they probably won't, since they made a movie about it. Not, not what maybe 15 years later, and you're seeing these real people.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's a pretty great movie for the year.
Cool. Where do you have it
Yep.
ranked?
I have it at 21.
Cool. Great. So next we have Upgrade. And this was my going out of my comfort zone one that I went because I knew that it was pretty violent, but I actually had some time in between going to see Tag at a screening. So I'm like, I'm bored. What am I going to do? And there was a screening for Upgrade. So I'm like, yeah, what the heck? Why not? And so I went and saw it and I didn't love it. Um, I get the style that it's going for and it executes the style well, but I thought it was pretty pedestrian as far as story and script. And I thought the action was well and that the actor did a good job with the action, but anytime he would talk, I didn't think he was as very good. And I don't know, I didn't love it. I know a lot of people love it. I didn't love it.
Yeah, I expected you to like it more than you are saying you did, so I'm a little surprised. I actually quite enjoyed it.
Really? It doesn't seem like a movie that I would like.
Well, no, it doesn't, but I would have expected you to appreciate it at least for what
I
it is.
appreciated the style of it, and that's
Okay.
why you'll see where I have it ranked. I appreciated the style of it. I thought it was a cool looking movie, but as far
Hmm.
as the story and the acting, I didn't think was great.
Okay. I guess that's fair. I mean, I definitely had issues with some of the acting in the movie. Um, but for the most part, it didn't bother me. I thought the action scenes were a lot of fun, well choreographed.
Yeah.
Um, I thought the plot was pretty unique, personally, and there were some good twists, some that I expected, some that I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it delivered for me. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't too long, which this kind of movie can easily be too long. So I appreciate that they didn't drag it on more than it needed to be. Um, so yeah, I didn't have any problems with it at all. I thought it was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean it's weird because I have it at 46 in my ranking, which is higher than Breaking In, which I was like, that was fine, and it's
Hmm.
higher than uh, well, never mind. We'll save that for later. But it's higher than some other ones. But I guess because everybody else I felt like was saying it was the greatest thing ever, and I was just like, oh okay. I didn't think it was the greatest thing ever. So I have it at 46.
Okay, I have it at 26.
There you go. Okay. Then another one I have maybe a little bit of an unpopular opinion about was Hearts Beat Loud. So I went and saw this with my friend Jen, and we were both pretty excited. And people had said, "Oh, it's the next Sing Street. It's next Sing Street." No, it's not. It was not the next Sing Street. And the thing, I thought that it had some cute moments, and I think the performances overall were good. I enjoyed that, but I felt like it was kind of emotionally flat, and I wanted the characters to dive a little bit deeper into their relationships and their emotions. And I don't know, like I don't think that the music is even close to as good as the Sing Street music. And I don't know. I was kind of bored watching it. I struggled, and I don't know. I didn't really like it very much, and I know a lot of other people love it, and that's cool. But I didn't love it.
Okay. See, we're finally, I think this is our 20th movie we're talking about. And finally, I get to take a break because I haven't seen this one.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought
But
I thought you were going to say, but I love it.
no, no. I think it looks really good. I haven't seen Sing Street, so I wouldn't be able to compare it to that. Anyways, if I did see it,
David,
but
you haven't seen Sing Street?
I have it downstairs on DVD. I could watch it. Maybe I'll watch it soon. But yeah, I think it looks really good. It's got great reviews, so I'm kind of disappointed to hear you say that.
Yeah, both me and my friend, we both agreed that we
Yeah.
were both kind of bored, and we both didn't think that that it was just kind of emotionally flat and one note. And
Hmm.
the only parts that I really liked were the relationship between the girl and her girlfriend.
Oh, really?
There were
I thought
actually
you were going to say your dad.
no, that's the
No.
part that was just like cursory. It wasn't, I don't know, but the part between her and her girlfriend was actually quite sweet and emotional, and it's the only part that like got me. Um, and I don't know. So I have it at 57.
Okay.
We have Hereditary. You saw
Yes, I did. And if anybody heard our summer, or
best and
basically
worst.
our first half of the year recap, you know that I really enjoyed this movie. So
Hmm.
yeah, Hereditary is a movie I've seen twice, and I'm dying to see it a third time. Critics seem to love it. Most audiences are not as big on it, but I'm with the critics because this was a movie that grabbed me right away. It shocked me at least three times in the movie. I was like genuinely like shocked. Um, it didn't rely on cheap scares. It's smart. It's well researched. Like this is a movie that once you watch it, if you like dig into kind of the lore that's explored in this film, you can tell that they did such a good job of staying true to the story of a supernatural character that's discussed in this film. But man, it was so good. Toni Collette is Oscar worthy for her
Hmm.
performance in it. I don't think she'll get a nomination. I mean, she might. It's early, so it's hard to say. But man, it delivered for me. I think it's a very, very smart horror film. So
Hmm.
yeah, this is my
Cool.
number one movie of the year so far.
Cool. Great.
Mhm.
Uh, and then you saw Hotel Artemis. I didn't see that.
Yeah, Hotel Artemis. I thought this looked pretty interesting from the trailer. Um, it it felt kind of phoned in though. Like they took such an interesting concept and they didn't let us care about the characters at all. The characters were so poorly developed. The story was kind of manic and I don't know. It didn't earn anything. It didn't earn the respect from the viewers, honestly. Um, so yeah, it was a pretty big disappointment for me. One of my friends that saw it with me, he really liked it, but his girlfriend and I did not like it.
Mm,
So I mean, I'm sounding like I hate it. I don't hate it. It was entertaining enough, but it was a big disappointment for me. So I rank it at 67 for the year.
okay. Cool. So then Ocean's 8. So I was really excited for this movie. I thought the trailers were stellar, were great. Like a good heist movie. The cast, of course, is great. And yeah, I thought that once they got the heist going, then I enjoyed it quite a bit. But man, the lead up I thought was super slow. And I was pretty bored for about the first hour.
Okay.
I thought I don't know, I just thought it was pretty slow, and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a bad movie. But then once they actually started in the heist, then it was enjoyable. But man, there were so many scenes. I say that the biggest problem with blockbusters today is too many scenes with characters staring at screens. And this movie had so many scenes of characters staring at screens, and that's just not interesting to me. And it's super, almost always, it's super boring. And so I was, I guess, disappointed because I was expecting it to be great. It did kind of redeem itself by the end, so I didn't hate it. Um, and I also hated the music. I thought that the score felt so out of place. It was like this weird organ music that to me seemed like it belonged in like a period piece, like a Regency piece. Like it felt so odd to me. I didn't like it. And So that was my other criticism. But of course, the cast's great. I thought the last act was really fun. So I have it at 42.
Okay. I don't think we're on the same page here because I really enjoyed it. I liked all the actresses pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
The only actress that I thought was kind of underutilized and didn't bring much to the screen was surprisingly for me, it was Kate Blanchett. I thought her character was a little bland.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the other ones, I really enjoyed them. I thought they were quirky. I laughed a lot. For me personally, I enjoyed this more than any other Ocean's movie I've seen. Probably largely to do with this ensemble cast. But
Even
yeah,
more than Ocean's 11, huh? The
oh
first.
yeah, I see. I've never been a huge fan of Ocean's 11.
Interesting.
So Yeah, I can see why people would appreciate the slickness of Ocean's 11 more than this.
Mhm.
Um, but I think this has other strengths.
I
And
just thought the pacing is so much better in Ocean's 11. Uh, I don't know. It's just like I don't know. I just did. So that was my main problem with this
well,
movie.
you're wrong. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah,
So yeah, where do you have it ranked?
I have this at 13 for the year. So
Oh, great, cool, good. All right. So then we have "Won't You Be My Neighbor," and this is a documentary about Fred Rogers. And I'd seen it. I've actually seen it twice now. I saw it at Sundance and then again. And the second time I saw it was actually at a special uh, banquet or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it. Special screening for the local PBS affiliate called KUED, their like 60th birthday party. So they had like hors d'oeuvres. It was super fun. And then we like sang happy birthday to this woman who's like been the oldest patron of this PBS station. And it was just really, I felt like very chic and swanky. But so that was all fun. But this movie is just so sweet and so lovely. I mean, it doesn't really reinvent the wheel as far as the type of documentary it is, but I just think there's something about the fact that we've had so many of our heroes from childhood that or people that we look up to that have that it turns out they're really skeevy and not great. And so for Fred Rogers to really be the walk and talk, I think was meaningful to me, and made you want to be a better person. After you watch the documentary, it's one that I definitely want to watch again, even though I've seen it twice. Just because I don't know, it just makes you feel good. So I love it. I think it's really good.
yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty inspirational, just like the other documentaries that we've discussed so far. Like,
Mhm.
it's good to see documentaries about people that are just genuinely good people
Yeah.
and have accomplished good things. And it's kind of sad to watch this one because he he seemed to feel like he hadn't done enough or that he could do more. And
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that changed children's lives. Although apparently some people thought that he made people feel entitled, but but
Yeah.
yeah, there's some really great scenes. My favorite scene is the part where he's talking to the boy in the wheelchair
Oh, that's a good
and he
one.
starts singing a song and the boy starts singing along.
Yeah.
Like that was the best scene for me. That really got to me.
And they tell you
Um,
like what happened with him and everything. Yeah, that was really great. I also just loved when he's before Congress. That
oh
scene
yeah.
was like right out of a Frank Capra movie, but it was
Hmm.
real.
Right.
Like I could see Jimmy Stewart like out there, like and the way he was able to get that crusty congressman to change his mind from that one speech, like that was so great.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think this is a documentary that everybody should go watch because, I mean, honestly, to some degree, Mr. Rogers has been a part of most people's
Yeah.
childhoods.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely a good one.
So I have it at 4.
Okay, so the thing for me is it's really hard to rank documentaries with
Yeah.
other things, but so while I really appreciate this as a documentary, um, it's not ranked as high as a lot of movies. I put this at 27,
It's certainly
which
fair.
is really good for a documentary.
How dare you? You hate all things that are
But
good. So yeah. Okay. So then we have Gotti, and this is the notorious 0% on Rotten Tomatoes film that I just had to see.
right, I took
And
one for the team seeing Action Point. You took one
right.
for the team seeing Gotti.
Yes. And when we were talking about it in the preview, I was like, ooh, this is either going to be a total train wreck or it's going to be kind of cool and fun. And they definitely took the total train wreck route. I mean, everything about this movie is terrible. The lighting is terrible. The costumes are terrible. The accents are terrible. The way that it's set up, the narrative is just awful. I mean, John Travolta is like trying, and under a different director, there could be something there, but it's embarrassing for all involved. And the thing that I think was made it especially the thing that made it especially bad is that they were treating the mafia as if they were like some kind of persecuted minority. And at the end, there's like this card, title card or whatever, that's like I don't know, like 70 investigators spent 12 years trying to get the Gotti family down, blah 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 blah, all this stuff. And that's supposed to be like bad, instead of being like, look at these like, these agents sacrificing their life to like investigate. This is like as if Donnie Brasco was like the villain of the movie, which I thought was just insane and hilarious. And also like the makeup is terrible. They don't even, because they're switching around. You're never really sure, like, because the same actor is playing his son at all these different ages, and they don't even like try a lot of times to change his makeup at all. And so you're like, where are we? I have no idea, like, what's going on. And so it's really bad. So I have it at 77. So here we go. Superfly. You saw Superfly.
Yeah, I saw Superfly.
Have you seen the original?
I have not. So it's hard for me to compare it to that, obviously. But yeah, this movie felt pretty cheap. So it was pretty lackluster in every aspect. I guess the only thing that was kind of good about it was the lead actor had some pretty good charisma. But it's a movie that's not only like pretty mediocre, but it's very forgettable as well. So if you had me try to tell you all about this movie, I would really struggle to remember much about it at all. So with that to say, I'm not even going to say much more on it. And I rank it at 82 for the year.
Okay. Then we have Tag. And Tag is this comedy about these guys that have been playing this lifetime game of tag. And it was better than I thought it was going to be. I laughed enough. It's definitely super raunchy. But I thought these guys had pretty good chemistry. I felt like they could be friends. I thought that Jeremy Renner was having fun with the role, kind of playing this too cool kind of character. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely feels like a premise stretched out to a little too thin, and also it can start to feel a little mean spirit. They're just right on that line, I think. But I thought it was enjoyable. I laughed enough. It's not as good as Game Night, but I liked it. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's an understatement, I think. Yeah, I didn't laugh that much. I mean, they showed too much in the trailers, like the funnier parts they showed in the trailer. So yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it, but I certainly didn't like it that much. It was about what I expected it to be. Yeah, I'm just
I guess it was a little better than I was expecting it to be. I just thought they had pretty good chemistry and really seemed like friends.
I can see that. So although like the age differences between some of them was
that's fair.
Like, they're not really in the same friend group because yeah.
I was willing to suspend my disbelief, I guess, on that part when it comes to friends. It comes to the ages. But yeah, I have it at 33.
Okay, I have it at 63.
Okay. Then we have The Incredibles 2. So this is so exciting. This movie, I love the original. And so I was very excited for this sequel. And I've seen it twice and I really loved it. I think that it's a solid superhero movie in every way, as far as like, all the beats that you expect. But then I also think it's a really cool movie about how hard it is to be a parent. It's like Tully, but animated and with a male perspective. I'm just kidding. But, kind of that, it does sort of touch on those things. And I thought it did such a good job of like avoiding sort of the home improvement kind of men are stupid kind of shtick that sometimes you get with these kind of movies, because Bob figures it all out in the end. He figures out the new
Spoilers.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. He figures out new math. He figures out how to help Violet. He and I thought there were some really sweet scenes. Like I loved the scene when Violet lets her dad sleep and tells him how much she loves him, that he's doing a good job. I thought that was really sweet. And I loved Edna being the parent to Jack Jack. That was hilarious. And they say that parenting, when done well, is the heroic act. And I think that was sort of the message of the movie. And so I appreciated that. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good movie.
Yeah. I agree. It was very good. There was some stuff that was a bit too predictable for me, especially
Uh-huh.
involving the villain.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
but yeah, I mean, it had a lot of charm to it. I'm a little bitter that it's the biggest animated movie of all time, though, because I don't think it's earned that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely one of the uh, stronger movies from this year, and easily the best animated movie from this year,
Yeah.
I'd say. Unless something's not coming to mind, but
Yeah, it's the best animated film of the year.
okay, good. I'll trust you. You're the expert. Yeah, but I mean, it was enjoyable. I'd like to watch it again. My favorite part, though, was the scene with Jack Jack and the raccoon.
Oh yeah, that was great too.
Yeah, the
That's
theater,
really
we were
fun.
all like cracking up during that.
Yeah. And I really liked the new crop of supers. I thought they were really fun
Hmm.
and like Void, and there were some real fun action scenes. You know, I liked when they're on the boat and she's and Mrs. Incredible and Void are I don't know, working together. I thought that was really fun. And I liked getting to see more of Frozone. He was fun.
Hmm.
I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
there you go. All right. So we have boundaries. I guess you
Wait, how'd you rank
Oh,
Incredibles?
sorry. I have it at 5.
Okay, I have it at 10,
Oh, there you go.
which I recently just dropped it a couple of spots.
Okay. Yeah, I have it Incredibles 2 at 5. I have Sergeant Stubby at 6, and I have Isle of Dogs at 10.
Okay,
So that's my animated ranking.
fair enough.
So, okay. So, Boundaries. You saw this? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty indie movie. It has Vera Farmiga, and she is a single mother, and she has bad relationship with her father, who's Christopher Plummer. Um, but he wants to go to California to live with his other daughter, who is can't remember her name. Oh, Kristen Shaw. Um, so he convinces Vera Farmiga to take him on a road trip with her son across the country so he can live with his other daughter. But what she doesn't realize is that um, on the way there, they make several stops. He is selling marijuana to many people along the way and gets his grandson involved. But it's a comedy, it's a dramedy, I guess you would say. But yeah, I liked it. Um, there's good chemistry between the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's definitely lots of parts that made me laugh. I don't think it's the most creative thing. It felt like one of those films that is kind of a passion project for the writer or director, and the studio is like, okay, here, we'll throw you a bone and let you do this, even though we know it's not a hit. Um, but yeah, it was enjoyable enough for me. I rank it at 47 for the year, so it's pretty much in the middle.
Cool. Good. All right. So then we have Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. So this one you were very excited for, of course, because you love
Hmm.
the first Jurassic World. I did not like the first Jurassic World. I thought it was really stupid. And so I was going in with low expectations. You were going with high expectations. And I thought that this movie, I thought that the beginning was pretty engaging as far as them getting the dinosaurs off of the island. I thought that the ending with the scenes, some of the more horror inspired scenes where they're getting chased um, by the
Indoraptor.
Indoraptor, that's right, Indoraptor. That was pretty fun. I liked some of the horror elements that Jay Boyne brought in. Like there's a scene where you see like the head of the dinosaur kind of coming. You see the shadow of the head, and that I thought that was pretty cool looking. And I appreciated that they expanded on Claire's character because I thought that she was a real grown worthy in the first Jurassic World, and here she felt like a real person to me, not just an ice queen of business. And so I liked all of that. I wasn't as high on the whole cloning thing, and I think that's going to make the next movie not good. I'm not looking forward to that one. I think that one's going to be a groaner, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I thought that the middle, there was too much time with this whole auction and like them too much time with the dinosaurs in cages. And I thought that the villain guy, well, Toby Jones and then the other guy were very over the top, and which could have been entertaining, but I don't know. So that didn't really work for me. And like I said, the very, very ending with what the little girl does was kind of like, oh no. But so overall though, I left being like, I was pretty entertained enough by it.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed it, as I've told you before in our other podcast.
Yeah.
I think the first half's better than the second half, but I still enjoyed the second half. I liked the middle enough. It wasn't an issue for me. I don't mind when some of those movies, like this genre of movie, takes time to slow down. Just because if it's too much action all at once, I can kind of get bored with that in films. I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it met or slightly surpassed my expectations, because I was starting to get kind of questionable about it, watching the trailer so many times. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's everything I like in a blockbuster.
Cool.
The
trailer was terrible. The trailer,
that wasn't good.
And it showed way too much. But I have it at 45, so
okay,
for me.
I have it at 2.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so then we have Leave No Trace. So this is a movie I've been championing since Sundance, and I got to see it again, and I just love it. I think it's just a beautiful movie. It's definitely a slow burn, so it won't be for everybody, but I thought it was a beautiful story of a father and a daughter, and it's really one of those movies where a teenager kind of learns that they don't have to behave the same way that they were raised. They can love their family, but they don't have to make all the same decisions. And so that was really moving. It's beautifully shot. Deborah Granick did a great job, just in the lush Portland forests outside Portland and or Vancouver. And I think Ben Foster's tremendous in it. I think Thomas McKenzie is amazing. I think it has such heart. It's so moving. It's really about how good people are at their core and that we shouldn't judge. And I just love it. So it's my number 2 favorite movie of the year.
Yeah, this is one I still haven't been able to see, but based on how I've heard you talk about it, I've been looking forward to it. It's probably something I wouldn't have looked forward to otherwise, but it's finally got a release date for Springfield, Missouri, where I live.
I hope that I haven't overhyped it. I'm sorry if I have.
No, it's fine.
I really did love it. And 100% Rotten Tomatoes, over 140 reviews. So that's pretty amazing.
I'll see it in 2 weeks is when it comes out.
Usually there's one guy who jinks down the score.
Right.
But so far it hasn't. So then we had 3 Identical Strangers, this documentary about these triplets that discover they were separated at birth. And this movie blew my mind. Like, I was shocked. And please try, if anybody's listening to this, try to avoid spoilers on this. Because normally I'm like, spoilers, who cares? But with this movie, I do think it matters, because it's just like, what? I couldn't believe what happens. And they're going to make a fictional film based on this. And I don't know. There's just something, I don't know if it'll have the same wow impact, because there's just something about the fact this is a documentary and this actually happened. To me, at least, I was like, what? And I was shocked. And it was really great. I thought really good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're on the same page here. Unfortunately, I was feeling too restless, like waiting to watch this.
Oh,
So I looked up and I read about most of the story. There were some things at the very end that I didn't read on. So I had enough that I was still surprised about. But man, this documentary, see, this is how you make a documentary, because it gives you the spectrum of emotions. Like watching this, there's
oh,
really
that's,
funny
yeah,
parts, really sad parts that make you angry.
yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed.
it's a great year for a great summer for documentaries, and for me, this is my personal favorite of
Yeah.
them.
I totally
So,
get it, because it was amazing. And
mhm.
I have it at 8. So actually I have 2
Okay.
documentaries in my top 10.
Oh well. See, I have it at 14, which is really good for a documentary.
Yeah, really good.
Mhm.
And then I have another one that I love from Sundance called Minding the Gap, that is going to be on Hulu in August. So you should check that out. It's really good.
Okay.
So anyway, so it might actually already be out now that I think about it. So okay, so then we have Uncle Drew, and so this is the one where I'm like, are critics high? Because how did this get such a high? I was like 65% or something. I'm like, well, what? Because I went and saw it and I did not laugh really at all. I did not think it was funny. And I mean, I guess I'm not a huge basketball fan, so I I maybe I don't have that attachment or something. I don't know. I just didn't think it was good. I didn't like it at all. And I thought Tiffany Haddish was kind of shrill, and I didn't like Lil Ray Howard as the lead. I thought he was kind of shrill. And so I have it at 74. It wasn't for me.
Okay. See, I mean, this is a movie where I actually like the heart behind it and the
Mm-hmm.
concept, but the execution was awful.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the lead characters were not people that you cared for at all. I thought some of the lesser of the older guys, like they were the better characters for me.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the main old guy, like his makeup looked awful to me. But some of the other ones I thought looked more believable.
Yeah.
But man, it just wasn't very good. I'm not a basketball fan either, but I think I could have gotten past that if this was actually a quality film, but it's not. And
No.
yeah, it doesn't earn its good
Should
score on
not be
Rotten Tomatoes.
fresh. What on earth?
No,
Yeah. So where do you have it ranked?
I have it at 85.
Okay. Yeah. It's deserved. Okay. Our next one is Fireworks. This is an anime film. And I was excited. You know, they're very advertising as like from the producer of Your Name, which is like one of my favorite movies of all
Mhm.
time. And this had moments that I liked, but for every moment that I liked, there would be something I didn't like. I thought that the character development was poor. I thought that the whole time travel element was sort of badly executed. There were moments where the animation was beautiful, but then there were moments where it looked terrible, with just horrible CGI mixed in, like in awkward ways that I hated. And so this was not successful in my opinion. So I have it at 69.
Yeah, I haven't seen this movie, but the fact that they promoted it by saying that it's from the creators of Your Name,
Mm-hmm.
and since I know you love Your Name so much and I haven't seen it, I'm like, okay, I need to go see Fireworks. So I went to buy tickets for me and my friend, and when we went to the theater to watch it, we found out that they had canceled the showing because they had double booked the theater it was in.
Oh,
So I got my money back. I got 2 free tickets as
oh,
well,
you were you
and
were you were the winner then in
I
this
was.
scenario.
Yeah, I did, and I
Sure.
didn't have to watch a movie that I wasn't really that interested in, anyways. So
Well, hopefully you get a chance to see Your Name, because that's actually a
yeah,
really good movie, but this wasn't good. Then The First Purge.
yeah. So I've never been a big fan of the Purge franchise. I like the concept, but I think that they promote themselves as horror films when they're really just action films.
Hmm.
They're basically like shoot 'em up films. So it doesn't have the horror element that I would appreciate.
Didn't the first one have more of a horror element, and then the next ones were more actiony?
I would say no. I think
Oh.
people mistakenly call all of them horror
Hmm.
when they really aren't. But yeah,
Because the first one, they're all just stuck in this house. That's why I thought it might be kind of
mhm.
more horror-y,
I mean, I
right?
guess I could see where you're coming from,
I've
but
never seen it, so.
yeah. But to me, I that was my biggest thing when I saw the first one, not the first Purge, but the actual Purge that came out first. Sorry, that gets confusing. But I remember being disappointed because it wasn't the movie it sold itself as. It wasn't like The Strangers, which is one of my favorite horror films. Um, so I just remembered the first time I saw it being like, that wasn't really horror. That was action.
Mhm.
And that's how they've all been since.
Yeah.
Um, so
And
I don't
this one was pretty political, wasn't it? Kind of
um
about Trump and stuff, kind of. So.
it was, but so was the last one, which was called
Mm.
Election Year. Um, a lot of them have a pretty political slant to them, which is kind of understandable if you think about it, because the whole premise behind it is about um, the United States putting forth this thing to kind of be catharsis and weed out kind of undesirables.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it was pretty much what I've seen with all the others. The characters weren't very developed. One of the main bad guys was like way too cartoonish for me. Like he was just like this deranged guy that would just like spit would be flying out of his mouth. He was it it didn't work for me, and I didn't really expect it to. So I rank it at 73 for the year.
Okay. Now we had Ant-Man and the Wasp. And so this was our sequel to the Ant-Man. And it was kind of a nice breath of fresh air after Infinity War, to something sort of light and fluffy. And I thought that it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It felt a little. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but I guess I liked the first Ant-Man more than most. I didn't think this one was quite as funny as the first one. With using the first one used those troop of guys more, and I like them. And with Michael Pena
Hmm.
and Ti and all of them, and but I thought that Evangeline Lilly, she was actually pretty decent, and I thought she was much better than in the first one, in my opinion, because I thought not only did she have a terrible wig in the first one,
Yeah.
but I thought she was pretty wooden and unemotive to me. And in this one, I thought she was much better. And I did think they it would have been nice if they could have used Michelle Pfeiffer a little bit more. And But I don't know. I didn't like the Walton Goggins character. I thought he was like kind of but the Ghost character was actually, I thought, pretty interesting. She was fine for me. She was pretty good. So overall, I liked it. It had some fun action sequences, and yeah, so I enjoyed it. What do you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. It was kind of weird. I mean, I get how people saying it's a breath of fresh air to see kind of a low stakes Marvel movie, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it might have taken it too far in that direction, where it just felt like a major step backwards as far as action and the villain. I mean, the villain was good, but it's like I don't know.
You didn't think like the scene in the school was kind of fun, and like this I liked that scene in the kitchen when she's like running along the knife, and I liked the
Hmm.
car chase at the end with like,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it was shown in the trailer, which was a bummer. But yeah, I enjoyed the action, and it's not like a great movie, but I
Right.
thought it was entertaining enough.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm probably sounding like I'm more down on it than I am because
Hmm.
I did enjoy it. Like I'm a pretty big Evangeline Lilly fan, so I liked what they did with her character this time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Pena was funny as well. Like there, I don't know if I don't want to give away too much, but there's a part where he tells a story and you
Yeah.
like see it going through all these other characters, but you hear it with his voice. I love that part. That was probably my favorite part of the movie.
And that was a throwback to what we got several times in the first
Right.
one. So
Hmm.
that was fun. So
Yep.
I have it at 29.
Okay. See, I have it at 25.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
It's still
All
my
right.
lowest of the three Marvels this year.
Okay. See, I actually have Black Panther and then Ant-Man and the Wasp, and just barely. I have Avengers Infinity War at 32,
Okay.
just because I didn't like the ending. It's kind of the same thing with Tully.
Yeah.
It's like they're both, I don't know, it's sort of the same problem.
Yeah. And I have Avengers Infinity War at 22. So it's not far behind
Yeah.
25, 22.
So they're all fresh, all three. Sorry to bother you. So this movie, this was my other one of my other coming out of my pushing myself a little bit, coming out of my comfort zone a little bit. So I went to see it, and I was digging it for like the first, I don't know, half an hour. I thought that it was pretty good satire. All the stuff with him and him working in this call center and him becoming a power caller and talking in white voice, and all of that was very biting and funny, and I thought it worked. And then I thought that it, I don't know, to me, it felt like they took like a dumpster full of ideas, uh, both visually, story wise, performance wise, everything, and just like, we're going to dump it all into one movie. It's like he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to make any more movies. So we're just going to throw everything in. And especially once it got to, uh, I guess, a magic part. I don't know how else to explain it without giving a spoiler, but
Stuff
the,
involving Armie Hammer's character.
yeah, and the equine parts, like, can we say
Right.
that? I thought that was totally over the top, and just I don't know. The movie just lost me. It was just too much. I know I get why other people like it because it's very creative, but to me it was too much. It just, I thought that, like, I don't think that creativity in and of itself is necessarily good. I think you have to package it in a way that's at least semi appealing, and in my opinion they didn't. And I wrote a whole review on my blog kind of explaining why I felt that it really missed the mark for me. And it was trying to be an experimental art movie. It was trying to be a movie about an anti-capitalism piece. It was trying to be a workplace, kind of comedy. It was trying to be, it was trying to be about unions and labor and the strike, and it was trying to be about workplace, racism, and it was trying to be about corporate excess and partying and modern media and consumerism, and it was just exhausting.
Audiences don't seem as high on it as critics are, so I don't know if it's that unpopular. But I actually agree a lot with what you're saying, and I think you have put it in a way that makes a lot of sense with it trying so many different messages. Because that was one of my bigger issues is I found it difficult to understand what is the message you're trying to get. Are you being too vague? Are you being, um, I don't know, too metaphorical with the message that you're trying to get, and it's just going over my head? What does this have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? I did enjoy it, and I was entertained, and I thought it was unique and clever, but it almost became too clever for its own good,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially in the second half, where it just kind of went off the rails, and even
Yeah.
some of the costumes were looked really cheap to me, like really poorly put together. Um, but yeah, it was a little disappointing, but I still enjoyed it. There were times though that I'm like, am I allowed to laugh right now? because this is funny, but I mean, I'm white. Am I allowed? Like, there's a scene where his coworkers make him rap,
Yeah,
and
that was really awkward.
it was awkward, but for me, I thought it was funny, and my friends were like, "Yeah, that's okay to laugh at that part." I'm like, "Okay, but I don't know," so it made me feel uncomfortable. But I
Well,
don't
and
know.
they're obviously trying to engender that kind of reaction, which
Hmm.
would be fine, but it's just too much. If that was, I don't know, it was just too much. I did enjoy the first like 30 minutes, I thought, and it's obviously very creative. I have it at 59 right now on my ranking. It was hard to totally skunk it because it had so many creative things, but anyway, I have it at 59.
Yeah, and I clearly enjoy it more than you, even if I was frustrated with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it at 33.
Okay, good. So then we have Whitney. This is the documentary about Whitney Houston. So this is an interesting movie because when I first got out of it, I was like, wow, that was really emotional. That was really good. But I have to admit, the more I thought about it, the more I was kind of like, I don't know. I kind of wondered if it was a little bit exploitative. They make a big reveal about her past, and it seemed to shock her
Does it
family.
involve her mother?
It involves her aunt.
Oh, her aunt.
Her aunt. Have you seen it?
I haven't.
Okay, so they make a big reveal, and I'm not going to tell you about her aunt and her childhood, and it felt a little bit exploitative, like they hadn't prepared the family for this reveal, and that and also the director tries to like tie Whitney Houston into into the broader current events of the day, not just our day, and there's some of that, but like he'll have like scenes of the Challenger you know, disaster, whatever, that along with like her and like scenes from whatever. It's like as if like Whitney Houston was like this touch point during all eras about everything that happened. I thought that was a little bit of a stretch, but I love Whitney Houston so much that like getting to hear her sing and her life, it was tragic and made me sad, and so I did enjoy learning about her, but I don't know. I have it at 44.
Okay. Yeah, this is a movie. They showed the trailer at our movie theaters, but they never actually showed the movie. So that was frustrating because I wanted to see it. Whitney Houston is
Mhm.
actually the only celebrity that I actually cried when she died because she was such a big part of my childhood. I
Yeah.
loved her. So I'd love to see it, but yeah, I've had that concern that it might be
Her and
exploitative.
Robin Williams are the only ones that I've ever cried.
Hmm.
We're the two. We have Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. You saw this?
Yeah, I watched this about a week ago. I guess not even that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a Joaquin Phoenix movie. It's a true story about a guy, speaking of addiction, a guy who's an alcoholic, and one day he's a passenger, but he's involved in a car wreck, a drunk driving accident, which leaves him quadriplegic. He still does have um, some ability to move his arms, but not really his hands.
Mhm.
So it's about his struggle with alcoholism and trying to decide whether he should pursue sobriety or not, um, and finding a new outlet for uh, just direction for his life now that he can't really do as much. So he starts making these cartoons which many people find offensive. He gets them published in newspapers and magazines. But he just kind of like folds his hands together and puts the pen in between his hands and draws that way. So they're very shaky.
Mhm.
But it was a pretty good story. Joaquin Phoenix, I think he's a great actor. He never disappoints. So
Mhm.
he did a great job in this role. Um, and the movie definitely gave me a lot to think about because I have somebody close to me that struggles with alcoholism. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it's kind of been under the radar,
Hmm.
and it'd be nice to have other people go out and see it. I ranked it 43 for the year.
Cool, great. Yeah, it looked like I was worried that it would be a little bit, not to use a buzzword, but a little bit ableist. And but that's good to hear that
Hmm.
it didn't feel too manipulative. So
Right.
good. So then we had eighth grade. So this was one that I saw at Sundance, and so you were finally able to see it.
Hmm.
And this, I'm not usually that high on coming of age movies, but the ones that I like are the ones that I feel like, I don't know, just are a little bit. This certainly had its tougher moments for sure, but I don't know. I felt like there was a softness to this, that a sweetness to it, that I really responded to, because the ones where there's just they're just being kind of hateful, these that I don't relate to as much because I just wasn't a hateful teen. I certainly had a grumpiness at times, but I don't know. I just relate to this feel. This to me reminded me a little bit of Perks of Being a Wallflower, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And I thought that Elsie Fisher was amazing in the lead role, and I loved her dad. I thought he was great, and I really really thought it was moving. And as a YouTuber, it was definitely all the stuff about sort of YouTubing and all that stuff really rang true to me. So yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah, I watched this I think 2 days ago, and yeah, it was everything I'd hoped it would be. Um, I really like these movies where it just feels authentic. The characters
Yeah,
feel real. They don't feel like they're acting. And this girl did such a good job at feeling like a real person.
yeah,
And like it's hard to imagine that she could be different in real life, just because it felt so genuine. But yeah, so many really funny parts. Um, but also, I was surprised by some pretty heavy parts
oh,
too that got intense and made you very uncomfortable. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I really love this a lot, and I want to see it again. There
But
were
somehow,
things,
even with those intense parts, I think that it still sort of maintains this. There's still sweetness to it, I think,
yeah,
overall.
yeah, I agree with that. Um, yeah, and I think part of it's kind of relatable for me too, because, well, first of all, I did not enjoy middle school at all.
Yeah,
Um, and so I think so many people just, and ultimately the movie is about somebody having this outward view, or this kind of how you perceive somebody is not necessarily how they perceive themselves. So people were seeing this girl a certain way. She's like, that's not me. That's not who I want to be.
yeah,
I'm something different. And I can relate to that in a way. I think people
yeah.
see me and see me not how I see myself.
Well,
So,
also, she is giving this advice for the kind of person that she's this aspirational advice on her YouTube channel, which I think is very like 2018, the idea of
mhm.
sort of uh through social media, we're kind of presenting this sort of best version of ourselves. Seven.
Yep. I have it at 9.
Yeah.
So,
Great. Cool. Okay. Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation. So, this is obviously the third of the Hotel Transylvania movies. And so, these movies have just been fine for me. I think the second one wasn't as good as the first one. This third one actually might be my favorite. I think it's the one that the director Gendy Tartakovsky, had the most say in, and sort of has his flair and his feel. And the animation I thought was very pretty, and very fun, and especially when you get these wide shots of the boat, and sort of the underwater scenes. And I like his sort of cartoony aesthetic that he has. And I thought that it was funny. I think that I've actually seen it twice, but I think that they didn't need the villain at all. Like, there's plenty of story there with Drac just meeting somebody, and like Mavis having a hard time with it, and the various things that happen on the boat. You do not need this villain. So that was a miss. But I thought there were some pretty funny jokes. Like, I really liked the werewolf character when they're dropping off the kids at the daycare or whatever, and there's like, you'll take our kids all day, and then they're like, yeah, but you have to come. But you get to pick, but don't worry, you get to pick them up in the evening, and they're like, oh well, close enough, that was funny to me, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah. I had never seen a Hotel Transylvania movie, so I had to cram. I
Okay.
actually had to do a lot of cramming in July with so many sequels coming out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched the first two, and I think I agree. Maybe it's because the first two I watched at home, and it's easy to get distracted, and the third one I watched in the theater, and
Yeah.
I could either watch or sleep. And I mostly watched. Um, a
I
little
thought
bit of
that this
sleeping.
third one did a better job of using the ensemble characters
Uh-huh.
better than the second one. And I thought it was disappointing in the second one that they made the little boy a vampire, because the whole message of the movie was about accepting people that were different, and then the fact that he wouldn't be different was like, oh well. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I can see
so
that.
I think
I
that's
mean,
why I
I
think
like
this
that they
third
made him
one's
a
better.
vampire. Yeah, I do think probably this was the one I enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
Still, it wasn't anything special to me. I laughed a little bit here and there. I didn't have a problem with the villain. It's just not a movie that's gonna stand out to me in the long run, I guess. So,
Yeah. I have it at 23, which is probably too
oh
high, but I don't know. I'm an animation girl, so I guess that's
yeah,
so.
yeah, I have it at 54.
Okay, perfect. That sounds fair.
Hmm.
All right. So then we have Skyscraper, and this was our over the top action movie from The Rock, where he's got to save his family from this burning building, the skyscraper and this movie is super silly, and but I thought it did some things right that I appreciated. I thought that some of the action set pieces were kind of fun. Like, I enjoyed, there's one where he's fighting all these people in this whole room full of mirrors, and I thought that was entertaining. I enjoyed that. I thought that there was another scene where he's like climbing this giant crane, and it's completely ridiculous, but I thought I had fun with that scene. Thought that was good. Also, I appreciated the fact that the Nev Campbell character wasn't just a damsel in distress, that she was like, and she wasn't like a warrior woman. She just was like, her skills made sense for her training, but she was just like a strong mom and a cool character, I thought. So I thought she was actually pretty good. And yeah, the villains were terrible, were lame, but I don't know. I just thought this was fun enough. I enjoyed it enough.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I would say it was fun enough. There were some pretty good action scenes. There was one part that I was kind of embarrassed because it was when he was on the crane and he's like
The crane was good, right?
he he like lets go with one hand and quickly grabs with the other,
Yeah,
and I like jumped. I went and I felt kind of embarrassed because
yeah,
I'm like,
it's like
oh,
one of those monkey bars things, but like way
yeah,
high in the air.
yeah,
Yeah, that was really good. And he's like makes this insane jump and then he's like holding onto the edge of the building, and
right.
I don't know, it was just so over the top that it was
Yeah, it's
I thought.
unbelievable, but it was still like it entertained me. Like
Yeah.
it kept my attention, so like I didn't hate it at all.
Mhm.
It was about what I thought though, because I
Mhm.
thought it would be passable, and it
Mhm.
kind of was. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have it at 38.
okay, I have it at 57.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Then Blind Spotting, you saw this. I did not.
Yeah, I really want to go back and listen to what I said when we previewed Blind Spotting,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a movie that has not really stood out to me. Like I kind of had to force myself to go watch it the other day. Um, because, well, for one, I didn't have a lot of interest, and
Well, I thought
two,
it looked a lot like Sorry to Bother You, but I
right,
guess it's not.
I can see that, but yeah, and it wasn't on my movie pass, so I had to pay out of pocket for it. Who does that anymore?
Yeah.
um but I was actually like really surprised with it. And I've told a few of my friends, you need to go see Blind Spotting. It's everything I wanted Sorry to Bother You to be. So,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I think they do some of that creative stuff that Sorry to Bother You did, but it works a lot better. It flows. The characters are more compelling. Um, there's some genuinely funny parts. Like I don't think people pick up on it being as much of a comedy as it is on the trailer,
Hmm.
because it looks pretty serious, which it is, but there's still some really funny moments in it. I love the lead. I love his best friend, who's kind of a crappy person at times. Um, yeah, I could not recommend this movie more to anybody. So please go see it. Rachel, go see it, okay?
Okay, I definitely will because I've been thinking about it.
Yeah,
I
I
have to
think it's I
burn it.
think it's really great.
I
Um,
definitely will go see it for sure.
yeah, I'm ready to go see it a second time.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have a
And
totally,
I
oh,
ranked that at number 7. So
ooh,
yeah.
okay, very high. So on
Mhm.
the other end of the spectrum, we have Duck Duck Goo, which made me want to die. It was so bad. Like I knew that it would be bad, but it was honestly way worse than I even expected it to be. It was so bad. It was so gross. Like so many toilet humor jokes, so horrible animation, horrible characters, horrible writing. There were like long sections where they were just like fighting Chinese people for like this movie. They're obviously trying to market it to Chinese people, but like mixed in with like weird pecking duck jokes, and like the Chinese people trying to cook the ducks, and it was. I mean, I have seen terrible. I mean, I have seen like I give a pass to animated films that other people just think are the worst thing to ever exist, like The Wildlife, which I didn't like, but I didn't think was like horrible like other people thought it was. I'm somebody who has an open mind when it comes to this kind of animated film. Like I actually loved Son of Bigfoot last year. I thought that was actually really good, and a lot of people would just judge that and not even give it a shot. So I have an open mind when it comes to this level of animation, and this thing was just atrocious in every respect. I didn't even like the message. I didn't like the romance. I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't like any of the voice acting. I hated this movie, and I just all the people that are just gonna be like, oh, this will be fun for kids because it's on Netflix now. Don't do it. I have it at 80. It's the worst movie. It's one of the worst animated films I've ever seen in my life, and it makes Sherlock Gnomes look like a masterpiece in comparison. That's how bad it was. I hate it.
Wow, I don't think I've seen you on so much of a soapbox.
Now, I love animation. So when people screw it up, yeah, it was absolutely terrible. It was devoid of
It's not even like bad in a fun way.
no, it was not bad in a fun way. It like even Sherlock Gnomes, I could picture you actually kind of having bad in a fun way, and there were like a few laughs, and there were a few inventive things when they go in Sherlock's
Hmm.
mind. There were a few things that to like. But no, this thing was just cynical and like the worst kind of humor, and it was boring, and it looked terrible. I hated it. Next one that we have is Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. So this is our sequel to the first Mamma Mia movie. And yeah, so the first movie is kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. I know that it's not a good movie, but I get some escapism from it. And this movie I thought was also just really fun escapism. And I think it's better than the first one. I think that it has certainly better singing than the first one for sure. I pretty much liked all the Lily James stuff. I thought was really well done. I thought that the look-alike younger version of Kristen Baranski was perfect. I mean, I don't know how they found it. I mean, they just nailed it
Yeah.
with her. And I thought that Lily James played a convincing young Meryl Streep. I do think for people that are Streep fans, it was a little bit cheap to have like Streep right in the middle of the poster and like basically a cameo. But I thought that Cher was fun in her cameo, basically. And because I kind of knew that Cher would just be a cameo, but she was fun. And overall, it was just a good time. It was enjoyable to me. It was escapism. I loved all the songs. I've been listening. I liked the movie. I love the soundtrack, and I've been listening to it all the time. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. So this was interesting because I went to see it the Thursday opening,
Uh-huh.
and I remember walking into the theater and looking at the audience. And there was about 30 people in there. And I'm like, girl, 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 girl. Oh, there's one guy. So it was me and one other guy, which shouldn't have surprised me, I
That's
guess.
funny.
But yeah, I agree that it's better than the first one, which I hadn't seen in pretty much 10 years.
Uh-huh.
And I rewatched that like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, wow, this was worse than I remembered it being.
It's not a good movie, but
Yeah. So saying that this is better is not much of a compliment for me
mm-hmm.
because I don't think this was that good either, personally.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like the whole point of the movie was like, hey, audience members, you know those 4 or 5 ABBA songs that you like? Well, come here and watch this movie, and we'll throw in a bunch of other songs that you don't care about that are pretty bland. And
Uh-huh.
you'll have to suffer through those. But we have Dancing Queen, we have Mamma Mia, so it'll be worth it, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't really worth it.
Uh-huh.
And I agree that the singing was better, largely due to Lily James. She was
Yeah.
very good in it. And in fact, she was by far my favorite part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The whole current timeline plot was basically useless to me. The conflict between her and her husband felt very like forced in there.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. I like it when people can like a movie that I don't like.
Yeah.
But I did not really like this movie that much.
Yeah. I just thought it was effervescent and bubbly and fun. And I enjoyed all the songs. So I think maybe that's
Yeah.
the difference. Yeah, they're like B-rate ABBA songs, but they're still good
Mm-hmm.
songs in my opinion. And I liked all three of the guys that they got to play the younger versions
Yeah,
of them. I thought they were
I did
good.
like them too.
I loved the joke with the guy who was the checking the IDs at the to go to the ferry. Like that was really
Mm-hmm.
funny. I thought. I don't know. I totally get it. It's not going to be for everybody, but to me, it was just kind of escapism, and I had a good time. So
Yeah,
I actually I have it at 18.
okay. I have it at 75. I also want to say that there was a part near the end, and I don't want to give too much away, but it's a duet that takes place, I think, in a church or
Yeah,
cathedral, and I really liked that part.
yeah,
I
that
felt
was
like
sweet.
that was the most heartfelt moment of both of the movies combined, I'd say.
Yeah, that
So,
was nice. And
mhm.
you didn't get any of Cher singing Fernando. That wasn't fun for you.
You just knew that was going to happen because the guy's
I know.
Fernando.
It was great.
So, like, his name was Fernando just so Cher could sing this song.
Yeah, of course it
Uh,
was. Um, but anyway, so okay, so then we have Makia when the promised flower blooms. This is a hidden gem that I think that everybody should try to see. This is a anime film that it was directed by this woman named Mirai Okada, who is just a really great animator, and she did an incredible job creating. It's like this is an incredibly ambitious movie. She creates like a whole fantasy world with this whole lore, and if you like stuff with like dragons and battles and stuff like that, it's really good. But it's also this beautiful story about motherhood, because it's about this woman who's basically like an elf kind of, and so she's immortal, but her her like village or whatever ends up getting kind of attacked by these certain people, and she is running into the forest, and she ends up finding this mortal baby boy, and she decides to raise this baby boy, and so he's growing at a he's going to outgrow her, so she'll be young and he'll be, when he's like dying anyway. And so it's about her becoming a mother, and then there's also other characters. It's super ambitious. The animation was stunning and the music was great. I really thought it was wonderful. It's one, if you get a chance to see it, definitely seek it out and support it, because I was very, very impressed by it, and I have it at 12.
Okay. Sounds good.
So the Equalizer 2 you saw.
Yeah, The Equalizer 2. So this is another movie that I hadn't seen the original, so I had to watch that at home. And I thought the first one was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It was compelling enough. But I actually liked this one better, and also it might be because I watched it in the theater and I was forced to pay attention more.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I thought there were some pretty good action scenes. I like that it's not just a shoot 'em up movie, because this character, he doesn't really use guns if he doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there felt like there was more heart in this movie than the first one, because he kind of mentors this young teenage boy that lives in his apartment complex. There's a very powerful scene, I think, about halfway through the movie between these two characters. So yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Where do you have it ranked?
I have it at 30 for the year.
Great. And then you saw Unfriended Dark Web.
Yeah, Unfriended Dark Web. So Unfriended, the first one, I thought was pretty creative concept. The whole movie, both of these movies, it's all taking place on a computer screen, everything. So I like that concept. The first one has more supernatural elements. There's a ghost involved. It's not that way with this movie at all. It's more of like this dark group of people that are into um, pretty heinous things, and I guess they're hackers, so they're able to hack into this group of friends having a chat. Um, but yeah, it was pretty entertaining. I don't think it gave us anything new necessarily. Um, it's kind of cool because they had two different endings depending on what theater you saw it at.
Uh,
So endings
Pick
aren't
a
that
good ending.
different.
I heard one of them was really bad, one of the endings.
Yeah, I think based on how I read the two endings, I think I saw the better one. At least I would imagine that my ending was better. Um, so yeah, it was not bad. Uh, I think it's been a good year for horror, and this isn't one of the better horror
Mm-hmm.
films I've seen, or horror adjacent even.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I put it at 52 for the year.
Okay, great. And then Hot Summer Nights, that's another horror.
No, Hot Summer Nights is a movie with Timothy Chalamet. It just came
Oh,
out,
I was thinking of
and
something else.
yeah, I'm not sure what you're thinking of. But yeah, this movie is about him spending the summer with his aunt in Cape Cod, and he ends up getting involved with this guy
Mm-hmm.
who is a marijuana dealer. So basically, the whole movie is about these two guys like building an empire of selling weed
Oh,
to mostly like visitors who visit Cape Cod during the summer.
so like
Um,
him and the people in Boundaries could like hook up.
right. Yeah, they could. But see, boundaries, I felt like it was more about the relationships. This one, it seemed more, I mean, the relationships were a strong aspect, but it was more so about the weed,
Oh, okay.
which is something that I cannot relate to at all. I've never smoked weed.
Right.
If you're out there and you smoke weed, I actually don't have an issue with it. I think it's a lot safer than a lot of things that are legal.
Uh-huh.
But for me, it's just I couldn't hardly get into it.
No.
Um, the acting was pretty good. I don't think it was super demanding on any characters. So I put this at 66 for the year.
Cool. All right, we're almost done. So we have Mission Impossible Fallout. This is our sixth Mission Impossible movie, and this was really great. I mean, the action was super intense and super well done. I was kind of shocked that this got a PG-13 rating with the blood that you see in certain scenes, with how intense it was, and with some profanity. I don't know. To me, they definitely walked the line for sure. And somebody did bring up afterwards, they were like, it's not as bad a PG-13 as the Magnificent Seven, and that is true. That's probably the most egregious PG-13 I've ever seen. But that's not really a negative or positive. It's just what I thought. And it was really entertaining. I thought that Henry Cavill was good. I thought that Tom Cruise was insane and very great. And I mean, some of the other characters maybe a little underused. It's not like my favorite kind of movie, but I still really enjoyed it. And I still think Ghost Protocol is the best, personally. But I still thought this was good. I liked it.
Yeah, these aren't my kind of movies either. Like I said, I don't like shoot 'em up movies. I'd only seen the first Mission Impossible.
Oh, so
I decided to, yeah, I decided to catch up a little bit watching the fourth and fifth one. I figured those were the more recent ones. I got good
yeah.
reviews, so I'd try out those. And it was hard for me to get into those watching them at home, just because they're not my kind of movie. They
Mm-hmm.
seem fine. I did enjoy this one quite a bit better. So I would actually say this, out of the four Mission Impossible movies I've seen, is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I like the action scenes. I thought Henry Cavill was really good in it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a twist near the end of the movie that I saw coming from a mile away. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, but it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't deter me too much from it. So
Yeah. And they had some like fun moments that you haven't seen as much in some of the other movies, with like masks and some other stuff like that kind
yeah.
of harken back to the original TV show and some other stuff, which I
Okay.
really appreciate. Just for sometimes you have to look at what is a movie trying to accomplish, and for what this movie was trying to achieve, it achieved it for sure.
Right.
And I mean, just the helicopter scene was pretty amazing. The bathroom fight was pretty great. And just some of the set pieces were really, really well done. And so yeah, I have
Yeah,
it at
and you have it where?
14.
Okay. Yeah, and I do want to say that, like, I called it out for having a predictable twist, but there were things, like you said, that were not predictable, as far as our main characters tricking other people, and they trick the audience very well as well. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
One other character that I would have liked to see a lot more, I think they called her the White Widow, the blonde.
Yeah.
I really liked
Yeah.
her. I thought she had a lot of charisma.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ranked this at 35.
Yeah. That was Vanessa Kirby.
Okay, she's good.
Yeah, she was good. Okay, last one. We did it. Wow, we're almost done. We have Teen Titans Go to the movies, and there amongst the animation community, there's like a really bad attitude about Teen Titans Go. It's like this, like it's almost like the Ghostbusters reboot. Like people, because there was this original Teen Titans show that people really loved, that was like a serious show, and then there's like the silly show came, and so there's like amongst this weird little part of the fandom. I don't know if like other people, but it's like Teen Titans Go is the worst. And I've never seen any of the shows, so I don't care. And so I just sit kind of like and watch from my perch. And but I didn't love the trailers to this. I didn't know what to expect, but I have to say I went in and I laughed a lot. I thought it was really funny. And they make a Batman v Superman joke that I thought was hilarious. There's a whole scene where they go back in and reverse all of the origin stories of the superheroes. That was, I thought, really funny. They're like, Mr. and Mrs. Wayne, don't go down this alleyway. That was really funny. Like the Lego Batman movie, is obviously better made as far as the animation, but like I have to say, I think this movie, the jokes were just so, because there's a part like the middle of Lego Batman where there's not that many jokes, and in this one they just go 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 go, uh and I kind of appreciated that it was 2D animation and it sort of looked like the pages of a comic book. I thought that was fun. I loved the fact they used the original voice cast and didn't get celebrity actors to distract you, voice actors. They were just that was really cool, and it has like a mild message, but overall it was just funny. It was, to me, it was really funny, and I really enjoyed it way more than I thought I would.
Okay, yes. So for me, well, first of all, that Batman versus Superman joke they made the same joke in Deadpool too. So
Oh,
it
I've never
wasn't,
seen
yeah,
it. Yeah.
right.
Okay.
But it still was
Oh,
funny.
what's your father? Like that was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, they didn't go that far with it, but the mother name they definitely referenced.
Yeah.
Um, I did think it was funny, but for me, it wasn't laugh out loud funny. Like
Mm-hmm.
at one point, I was like consciously like trying to keep track. Okay, when am I gonna laugh out loud? Like audibly laugh out loud. And it only happened once in the entire
Really?
movie.
Huh.
And
Interesting.
and oddly enough, it was the very last line of the movie. I don't know if you remember what that was.
I'm trying to
It was
remember.
Robin said something to the audience,
Oh yeah.
specifically to
Yeah.
children that were there. And that part made me
I
laugh.
mean, there's definitely some like toilet humor that's grown worthy, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
just was so pleasantly surprised. I walked away with this big smile
Okay.
on my face, having really laughed, and the whole idea of like Robin wanting to get his movie made
Hmm.
was funny because just like everybody has a superhero movie, and you get like these like Guardians of the Unknown, they get their like superhero movie and like stuff
Right.
like that. It's really funny. And I loved Nicolas Cage as Superman because that's very
Hmm.
meta, because he was going to be Superman,
All
and
right.
I thought there was some funny stuff in there. And so I don't know, humor is just so subjective, but
Yeah. No.
I've only seen it once, and it partly could be somewhat expectations because it was just so much better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
But I don't know, I just really liked it, and so I had it at 15.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I have it at 49. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there we go. We did it.
yay, 51 movies.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
All right. Seems like we had some for the most part, pretty good movies. So this was fun. I had a good time. Thank you so much. I know this is a long podcast, but I had a really great time talking with you.
Yeah, I enjoy it too. I put in my research, so
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And so, all right, well, great. And so let us know what you think about any of these if you get to see them. What were your thoughts? What were your favorites and least favorites? And thanks again. And where can people find you?
you can find me on Twitter. My Twitter name is the David Healy, and you can find us both in our Facebook group, Film Freaks. It's facebook.com/Film Freaks Group.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes and on YouTube. So check that out. And yeah, thanks again. And we'll talk again before you know it. It'll be time to do our fall
Yep.
movie wrap up. So
Okay, sounds good.
okay.